Drops of Blood. My name is John, and today I'm going to be talking about some recommendations for week 3 of Horror Mayhem. Alright, so if you don't know what Horror Mayhem is, it was created by the Bookish Bryants, Scott and Becky, and they invited a bunch of us booktubers to be hosts and co-hosts and all that jazz. And it's going to take place in the month of May, henceforth Horror Mayhem. And each week is going to be a different genre of horror. Alright? So what they want you to do, or what they would like for you to do, is when you make out your TBR and you pick books for it, you can pick short stories, you can pick novellas, and try to keep your novels at under 250 pages. Because they kind of want this to flow along really nice and quick, alright? Okay, so week 1 was supernatural horror and creature horror. Kind of mix those two together. So you could do vampires, you could do haunted houses, you could do ghosts, you could do like paranormal stuff. Or you can do stuff like Bigfoot, you can do stuff like, you remember those books that came out in the 70s, I think? Like The Swarm with the killer bees. You could do something like that if you want to. So there's that. That's week 1. Then you got week 2. Week 2 is Gothic horror. That is things like Frankenstein, Dracula, Carmilla. Haunting of the Hill House could be considered Gothic. You could also consider that to be supernatural. I'm trying to think of others. Anyway, what I'll do is I've done recommendation videos for those two particular genres, and I will leave links in the description for those videos. Alright, so we are talking about week 3 today, and week 3 is cosmic horror. Alright, cosmic horror is also known as Lovecraftian horror because he's pretty much the granddaddy of cosmic horror. Alright, and other authors that have followed suit have been Brian Lumley, Tim Curran, pretty much any horror author worth his salt has probably done some kind of Cthulhu Mythos style or cosmic horror style short story or novella or novel, alright? So, today I got a nice stack of books here, and I enjoy doing these videos because that means I don't have to go searching for books on the internet and have to post them up to where they do, because that gets a little bit tedious at times. I got the real actual books right here. So what I've done is I've divided these up into novellas and novels, and then I've divided into short stories as well. Alright, so I'm going to start first with the novellas and the novels. And the first one, I'm not sure if it is cosmic horror, but I do know that the only novel, as far as I know, that this guy has written, The Ceremonies, was cosmic horror, and I believe that Dark Gods by T.E.D. Klein is also cosmic horror. Alright, so this is a collection of four novellas. You got Children of the Kingdom. Amid the grim and grimy realities of urban life, horrors lie hidden in the shadows of city. Then you got T.E.D. At their housewarming party, George and Phyllis think their new Connecticut retreat is quite a steal, unaware of the true price they will soon have to pay. Now, I'm not real sure if those two are cosmic horror or not, but like I said, I'm including this because I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to include it anyway. Black Man with a Horn. A chance encounter over the Atlantic lures a traveler into a web of ancient mystery and fiendish retribution. Now that one does sound kind of like a cosmic horror story, alright? And finally you got the Nadelman's God. The savvy button-down Nadelman comes to the slow and horrifying realization that the demons of our imagination are not always imaginary. Excuse me, I apologize for that. Anyway, this is Dark Gods. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it's cosmic horror or not, but I included it anyway. And they're all novellas, so they're definitely short enough to read for this event. So, alright. Okay, usually I don't do novelizations on here, but I had to include this one because, to me, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and Who Goes There, which the movie was based on, written by John W. Campbell, is definitely cosmic horror. You've got a creature that comes from beyond the stars. It is a creature without form, has no shape of its own, and it takes over the bodies and the personas or whatever of whoever it comes in contact with, to where you don't know who is who. You don't know if this is a thing or if this is the real person. All right. This is the novelization by Alan Dean Foster. It falls under the 200-page range. I think it's 196 pages. So there is that for some cosmic horror. Okay. Next up, we've got from Victor Laval. Now, this is kind of an answer to one of H.P. Lovecraft's most racist stories, and that is The Horror at Red Hook. And this is the Ballad of Black Tom. Okay? Nice short novella here. Charles Thompson Tester hustles to put food on the table to keep the roof over his father's head. From Harlem to Flushing Meadows to Red Hook. He knows what magic a suit can cast, the invisibility a guitar case can provide, and the curse written on his skin that attracts the eyes of wealthy white folks and their cops. But when he delivers an occult book to a reclusive sorceress in the heart of Queens, Tom opens the door to a deeper realm of magic and earns the attention of things best left sleeping. A storm that might swallow the world is building in Brooklyn. Will Black Tom live to see it break? That is the Ballad of Black Tom, and that is by Victor Laval. Okay, now this one is just a little bit over the 250-page range. I want to go ahead and include it anyway. This is Hive, and this is by Tim Curran. And I believe this is a sequel to At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft. Okay? Yes, it is. A sequel over 70 years in the making. Jimmy Hayes had a bad feeling the moment he arrived at Kharkov Station, and it had nothing to do with the cold, the snow, and the 4 solid months of darkness at the South Pole. But when mummies were discovered in the mountains, Hayes knew the cause of his bad feeling. Only he didn't know what would happen when the ruins of a pre-human civilization was discovered in a series of subsurface caverns. That was when the real trouble at Kharkov Station began. Tim Curran presents the stunning sequel to H.P. Lovecraft's Out in the Mountains of Madness and this new novel from Elder Signs Press. And that is Hive. So there you go. Alright, next we have got from John Pelan or Palan, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. This is The Color Out of Darkness. And it is a short novel, maybe even be a novella. Let's see. And it's signed. I did not know that. And it's a limited edition, 430 of 750. I didn't know that either. I got this from Bookhounds. Let's see what this is about. Let's look at the inside flap. In his classic story, The Call of Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft wrote, "The cult would never die till the stars came right again, and the secret priest would take great Cthulhu from his tomb to revive his subjects and resume his rule of earth. The time would be easy to know, for then mankind would have become as the great old ones, free and wild beyond good and evil, with laws and morals thrown aside, and all men shouting and killing and reveling in joy. Then the liberated old ones would teach them new ways to shout and kill and revel and enjoy themselves, and all the earth would flame with a holocaust of ecstasy and freedom." Lovecraft was right, though he only glimpsed a tiny sliver of the true horror that governs the secret history of the world. The truth is much, much worse, as several young people are about to discover. The miracle drug, essence, opens doors of perception hitherto undreamed of, but there's a heavy price to be paid. The price is to belong body and soul to nameless horrors that were old when the earth was young. Nobody rides for free, and damn few get out alive. That is The Color Out of Darkness by John Pelan. Okay. Alright, this next one here is definitely over the 250 page range, but I just feel there's no way I could not include this book. I read this book. It is a slow burn of a book, but I absolutely loved it. This is The Fisherman, and this is by John Langan. In upstate New York, in the woods around Woodstock, Dutchman's Creek flows out of the Ashicon Reservoir. Steep banked, fast-moving, it offers the promise of fine fishing and of something more. A possibility too fantastic to be true. When Abe and Dan, two widowers who have found solace in each other's company and a shared passion for fishing, hear rumors of the creek and what might be found there, the remedy to both their losses, they dismiss it as just another fish story. Soon, though, the men find themselves drawn into a tale as deep and old as the reservoir. It's a tale of dark pacts, of long-buried secrets, and of a mysterious figure known as the Fisher, the fisherman. It will bring Abe and Dan face to face with all that they have lost and with the price they must pay to regain it. And that is The Fisherman. That is by John Langan. And this one falls to 266 pages, so it's about 16 pages over the limit. I don't think that Scott and Becky are going to smack me over the hand with a ruler or anything like that for including this book, because it's just an awesome book, all right? All right, next up from Todd Keisling, we have got The Final Reconciliation. All right. I was going to include his book Devil's Creek, but it is pretty far over the mark. The Final Reconciliation falls at, let me see what this is, how many pages we got. 154 pages. Take Off Your Mask. 30 years ago, a progressive rock band called the Yellow Kings began recording what would become their first and final album. Titled The Final Reconciliation, the album was expected to usher in a new renaissance of heavy metal. But it was shelved following a tragic concert that left all but one dead. The sole survivor of that horrific incident was the band's lead guitarist, Aidan Cross, who's kept silent about the circumstances leading up to that ill-fated performance until now. For the first time since the tragedy, Aidan has granted an exclusive interview to finally put rumors to rest and address a question that has haunted the music industry for decades. What happened to the Yellow Kings? The answer will terrify you. Inspired by the King in Yellow mythos first established by Robert W. Chambers and reminiscent of cosmic horror by H.P. Lovecraft, Laird Barron, and John Langan, comes The Final Reconciliation, a chilling tale of regret, the occult, and heavy metal by Todd Keisling. All right. And I don't know, do you guys have like if you guys are into the Cthulhu Mythos and all the elder gods and stuff, do you guys have like a favorite elder god? I know a lot of people like Cthulhu because he's pretty much the big daddy of them all, or at least you would think he is. He's actually not. Nyarlathotep is even worse than Cthulhu, and then Azathoth is even worse than them, because supposedly Azathoth is sleeping, and Azathoth is dreaming us. So when Azathoth wakes up, nothing. We're gone. That's it. You know. You know what? One of my favorites of the Elder Gods, and this is because I played games like Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror. One of my favorites is Hastur. You know, Hastur was created actually by Ambrose Bierce, and in the original story, he was benign. He was like a helper kind of. I believe he first appeared in Haida the Shepherd. And then Ambrose Bierce also did a story called An Inhabitant of Carcosa. Well, then Lovecraft borrowed those two characters. He borrowed Hastur and he borrowed the city of Carcosa and made it his own. But I've always liked the image of Hastur when he's drawn, because he's like this yellowish looking figure. Sometimes he has these tentacles coming out of his hood. Really cool figure. So if you guys have like a favorite, if you're into this kind of thing, let me know in the comments. I'm interested, all right? Okay, we're going to move on to the short story. Actually, wait a minute. We do have one more book of novellas. And this is A Lush and Seething Hell. Now, the book as a whole does exceed the 250 pages. But there are two novellas in here. The first one is called The Sea Dreams It Is the Sky. And the second one is My Heart Struck Sorrow. Alright. The Sea Dreams It Is the Sky examines life in a South American dictatorship, centered on the journal of a poet in exile and his failed attempts at translating a maddening text. The story is told by a young woman trying to come to grips with a country that nearly devoured itself. Alright, and then in My Heart Struck Sorrow, a librarian discovers Depression-era recordings from the Deep South, valuable archives of the rich folk history that survived in the face of an encroaching modernity and an accompanying journal. But there's a reason they've been hidden for so long. The journal may in fact be a ledger of one man's descent into madness, and the records might contain the musical stylings of the devil himself. And it says here... let me see what it says. Breathtaking, haunting, and lush and seething hell is a terrifying and exhilarating journey into darkness, an odyssey into the deepest reaches of ourselves that compels us to confront secrets best left hidden. And that is A Lush and Seething Hell, Two Tales of Cosmic Horror. Alright. Okay, now we're going to move on to the short story collections. I've got 4 here. The first one I've talked about before. This is the Necronomicon. And this is Tales of Eldritch Horror from the Masters of the Genre. And you have such tales in here as The Repairer of Reputations by Robert W. Chambers. The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen. The Black Sea... Sea Curse by Robert E. Howard. The Dreams in the Witch House by H.P. Lovecraft. The Yellow Sign by Robert Chambers. The Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. Let's see. Fragment by Lafcadio Hearn, and a ton more stories. I'm not exactly sure if these are all cosmic horror, but quite a number of them definitely are. So there's some short stories you can choose from. The same thing goes with Shadows over Endsmith. These are by H.P. Lovecraft, Ramsey Campbell, Neil Gaiman, Kim Newman. Some of the stories. Let's see what we got here. Some of the stories are The Big Fish by Jack Yeovil, and that's Kim Newman writing under a pseudonym. Down to the Boots by D.F. Lewis. The Church in High Street by Ramsey Campbell. Deep Net by David Langford. Dagon's Bell by Brian Lumley. And that's just a few of the stories. There's probably about 12 or 13 stories in here. So yeah, that is Shadows over Innsmouth. So you can choose some short stories from there. And we also got The Book of Cthulhu. Tales inspired by H.P. Lovecraft from Cage Baker, Laird Barron, Caitlin R. Kiernan, Sherry Priest, Tim Pratt, Thomas Ligotti, and many others that I did not name. And you got stories in this one. Let's see what some of the stories are. The Tugging by Ramsey Campbell, Fat Face by Michael Shea, Black Man with a Horn by T.E.D. Klein. There was one I talked about a while ago in Dark Gods. Bad Sushi by Cherie Priest. Joe R. Lansdale, The Crawling Sky. John Langan, The Shallows. And Laird Barron, The Men from Porlock. And that's just a few of the stories included. And that is The Book of Cthulhu. And finally, we have got the granddaddy of cosmic horror himself. This is the complete Cthulhu Mythos Tales. This is supposed to be every single one of the stories that is included in the Cthulhu Mythos. And that, of course, includes the Call of Cthulhu, Dagon, Nyarlathotep, the Hound, the Color Out of Space, the Curse of Yig, The Dreams in the Witch House, I talked about that one. The Thing on the Doorstep, The Tree on the Hill, The Haunter of the Dark, and quite a few others. That is the complete Cthulhu Mythos Tales. Alright, so you know what? Those are going to be it. That's going to be it for my recommendations for week 3 of Horror Mayhem, Cosmic Horror. Like I said, I will leave a link to the other videos in the description. And until next time, take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.